Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Flying with Friends, the first 50 years. Tonight is really special. I've got my very good friend, Lance Gravely here. And we've got, I believe, a great story that intersects many circles. And what I'll do is, with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Lance and say, Lance, tell us about young teenage Lance.
Well, as a kid, flying was a thing I really dreamt of. I grew up, as you know, in Vero Beach, flying town. It's where Piper is. It's where Flight Safety International was, and I also grew up in the '80s at the height of the space shuttle program.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we would watch the shuttle launch on the TV in our classroom, and then we'd go out to the playground and we'd watch it go the rest of the way. So I spent a lot of my childhood looking up and dreaming about flying and space and all of that. And when I was 18, I had the good fortune to get my private pilot certificate with my parents' support, and dreamed about maybe doing it as a career. I thought about trying the Air Force. I didn't have the eyesight to do it at that time. I had a buddy on my little league team whose dad was a pilot for Eastern, and he advised me he wasn't sure it was the right time to get into the industry. So at any rate, life went in other directions. I ended up, after college, going to grad school. I became an anthropologist, became a professor, had a family, 2 young kids, and wasn't flying during that time. So I wouldn't say that I had lost the dream, but it had receded to the background.
Mm-hmm.
And then as my career was settled, about 15 years ago, as a birthday gift, I was able to go flying in one of the airplanes that's sitting right over there with an old buddy of yours. I didn't know you at that time. I certainly didn't know that you two had the history that you did. But Dave Jakobach took me on a flight in a Cessna 172, and as soon as we left the ground, 13-year-old me was like, "Remember this?"
I love it. And Dave's such a good guy because he is an avid teacher, pilot. I've known Dave. We flew together in the 80s in the Air Force. And now we're back buddying up again, flying aerobatics in the decathlon. And I'm so pleased that he was the guy that kind of brought you back.
Yeah, it's an amazing small world thing that you two have that history. And then he was the guy who sort of reminded me how much I loved it. And I wasn't able to come back to flying in any serious way immediately after that flight, but that was definitely the moment that set me on this other course.
The slow fuse was lit.
There was no stopping that at that point. I couldn't forget how much I loved it at that point. So it was probably 4 or 5 years later that you and I met.
Right.
And we came together because we were part of a group of 5 pilots who pooled our resources, bought an airplane, and started a flying club. Because we wanted to do it. We wanted the camaraderie. We wanted to try to support the growth of GA in our community. And we flew together a whole bunch. You were when we started that, I had 150. I think I had about 150 hours in my logbook.
Amazing.
When we started flying together, and we flew together a bunch. I mean, you checked me out in the airplane. It wasn't always pretty. You surely remember that first time that we beat up the pattern over at Williston.
It was memorable for a couple of reasons. One is because this is my memory of flying with you early on, is your level of professionalism and airmanship was just a notch above. You stood out from the crowd. But we're in the traffic pattern and maybe struggling a little bit. And I'm thinking, the memory that I have is, I said, I have to say the right words here. And
you're good at finding the right words. Yeah, in that case, I was pounding in it a little bit too hard. And after one landing, I'm glad there were not other witnesses for. You said maybe try just looking a little farther down the runway. And the next one was great. Yeah.
Everyone since then has been butter, right?
Butter. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're a great teacher, and that was an example of it.
So kind. Thank you.
But we flew together a lot, and one of the other memorable moments that sort of led me to where I am now. This was probably along about 2018, late 2018, maybe early 2019. And I was starting to hear chatter about the pilot shortage at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And that little childhood voice was like, remember me? And you and I flew over to Flagler one day, and we had a lunch at Hijackers.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting there and we're having conversation about this. And that was the moment where you planted this outrageous idea that that I could be at Delta in 3 years if I put my mind to it. And I mean, you were drinking iced tea, so I don't know. You were sober when you said it,
and I meant it.
Yeah, but it seemed impossible. And you know, the timeline slowed down a little bit because we had COVID in the meantime, and that also helped to snap me back into focus on my career as a professor and an anthropologist. But it wasn't that much longer. Coming out of that, I realized that I had the hours at that point, and the airlines were hiring in a historic way.
Yeah.
And so I took a leave of absence from the university, thinking that I would just go to the airlines, maybe just for a year, get my ATP, and then come back and maybe even try to start a program at the university. But then once I got there, I realized there was just no going back. I mean, I just loved it.
Yeah.
And then the opportunity came to move from the regional into your old airline much faster than I ever could have dreamed would be possible.
Your timing was incredible, where you had not even consolidated off of OE yet, and you were getting called to go to Delta.
Yeah,
if I remember,
I'm almost embarrassed to say that and put it out there on the internet, but that is that is.
Was I not supposed to say?
No, I mean that is.
It's too late now, right?
I mean, it is true. You know, it was a historic moment the way that airlines were hiring at that time, and so. You know, it had been a long time coming. I'd been flying for 30 years, and I had put in a lot of work to get to that point. But there's just no denying that the timing was right, and that opportunity presented itself, and I'm so lucky and grateful that it did. And I'm, you know, a lot of people say they're living the dream. I am literally living the dream. I mean, this is a dream that I had as a kid. I thought it had slipped me by. And then in middle age, all of a sudden it's back. And the idea that I will be able to have these two amazing careers that I had as a professor and now as a pilot for my favorite airline, I feel incredibly lucky. Yeah.
Well, you've worked hard for it. In my opinion, you deserve it. I mean, if there's such a thing as deserve, I mean, I can't think of a better Delta pilot. I envision you someday being a captain and just being in charge of that airplane and being the best Delta captain that.
Well, I'm very lucky to have you in my corner. I say it to you often. I say it to every captain I fly with that it's because I've had you in my corner that I'm there. I don't think I would have had the audacity to dream the dream and to go for it if you hadn't been saying the kinds of things you just said for the last several years, and also just helping me become a better stick and rudder pilot along the way. So I'm very grateful for that.
It's been for me, such a fun journey collaborating with you, and I feel like you are such a good teacher that a lot of times we could come back from flying and I'm going, oh, who's the instructor here? I'm supposed to be teaching you, but I feel like I'm learning. And I loved the kind of all boats rise, you know, kind of a thing. And every single time I flew with you, I came back going, I'm the instructor. It's like, but I'm learning, and I loved it. I absolutely love that.
That's kind of you to say, and I trust that your viewers know that's not true. You were clearly the instructor.
Well, there was a lot going on, and it was really, really good. And then next thing you know, boom, you're at Delta. And,
and I will always cherish my wing ceremony where you were so good to volunteer to be there. And and you actually gave me my wings at Delta, which is just, I mean, oh, I'm getting chill bumps thinking about it. Such a special moment.
As am I, to be there with your family on that day.
Yeah.
And to be walking in those halls again. And for me, as a pilot, as an instructor, as a friend, to be there,
Yeah,
was like, that's as good as it gets, in my opinion.
yeah, and I can relate to it in a small way, because now some of my former flight students are also colleagues at Delta, and my wing ceremony was a really special, one of the best moments I've had. But having your students and mentees get there is even better.
It is. It really, really is. Well, friends, I think for today, that's the story of Lance's Dream Deferred and then Realized, which is, to me, just a wonderful story. Thank you very much, Lance, for being here today.
Well, thank you for this.
What a pleasure.
Yeah.
And everybody, come back and see us again on another episode of Flying with Friends, the first 50 years. Thank you.
Bye.